Hello and welcome to Flory Models. Here we are with you on Tool Tuesday, the 2nd of November 2021. First of all, big thank you to everybody who joined us on Sunday night for all your kind bids and things like that. Hopefully you had a few giggles and laughs with our little adverts on there as well. I've got out everybody who's ordered off of me. Kindly, you all paid up straight away and they all went out this morning. Disclaimer, in my rush to get them out, I forgot to actually take note of the tracking and update the tracking onto it. So it will be with you within the next couple of days. They've all gone, they're all signed for as well. So you're going to get them within the next 48 hours. If you don't, and it doesn't turn up after a couple of days, shoot me a message and then I'll go and dig out the tracking and all the rest of it. But I don't think we need it. It should be pretty good on that one. They've all been sent Royal Mail first class signed for, so you should be good with that one. So thank you on my part. Spoke to Matt as well. I think Matt's probably had most of you have paid and done. His are going out as we speak. And again, with John and Nathan as well with those kits as well. But a big thank you to everybody who took part. That was really, really good. Yesterday you had part 3 of this little lady. This is the sub that obviously we're working on at the moment. This is the Zvezda Delta 4 1 to 350 scale, and again gone together really, really nicely. We've done the red underneath today and we've done the black as well. This is the first coat of the black going on the top. Really happy actually with that colour. It's got a real nice sort of faded in colour to this one, and then we're going to come in with other blacks onto this one to really sort of bring it to life, and then we're going in with weathering and all the bits and pieces. But anyway, the part 3 covers the last of the sanding and filling, and say 3 lots of sand and filling onto this one, and then getting it into primer. So that's that one done, and then end of the week you'll be catching up with the next part of this one, which gets it all through the paintwork. So that's coming along very nicely. Showed you this one on Sunday night, but this is the Spitfire. This one is ready to have the green camo done. It's got this ready for next, to do it tomorrow. So this is part of our tutorial series on airbrushing. So this one is going to be going into doing basic camo job onto this. So it's not going to be freehand in advance. So we're going to use some type of masking system onto this one and show you a few different ways of doing it right the way through. Then obviously we go through with decaling and then for weathering, so forth and so on with this one. It's a great build, I have to say. It's absolutely fantastic. It's gone together really, really well, and I am enjoyed going through with it. So yes, very, very nice with that one. So that's good. So that's all coming along. Say next part of that will probably be up with you end of the week on that part as well. Up with you today, being Tool Tuesday, we have a tool. So been on about getting these in for a while. PM got them in a week or two ago and wanted to put these on a proper on test with other types of single blade nippers. So as you can see down on here, if I snip in the close-up, you can see a little bit more about them. So you can see it says they're high quality, professional, class single A blade nippers. So the way this works is you have a block and a blade. The great thing about it is you can get incredibly close to the surface without taking off, you're leaving too much of a sprue tab behind. Also, the great thing about them is you don't get them pinging off because it's only one blade in, so it's not like a V-shaped pressure one that comes through. It says that they do up to 3 mil of plastic, which is what I would recommend not doing any more than that with any type of run. It's got a spring, but then they all have that down in there, and it says it's 120 millimeter on the size of them, which is fair enough right the way through. On the back here, it's got a little bit about them as well, taking them off, made with special carbon alloy steel. So there you go, that's all of those and some bits at the bottom. So your part number for this one is 08023. We do have them on the store, they're $29.99. So in here, oh, some more pictures on the side here, I didn't see those pictures. So it's got a limiter on the opening, which is pretty standard to all of them. You've got a block that stops them overcutting, and then you've got these single blade, as it says down on there. And then down on this side, you get a pouch. Baldrick. So anyway, we get a pouch. Okay, how do you get in? Oh no, I can't get them out. Hold on, let's try it from the other end. Push or pull, pull, push. There we go. Okay, so nice piece of high density foam. There's our little pouch, which has got our little for putting them in. It looks, that's leather, I think. And then obviously Jesus, I had to get them out of here. There we go. Stuck in the high density foam. Keep this stuff, it's great for masking. There we go, we have them here. Squeaky, squeaky. I think it needs a bit of oil. But that spring, to be honest, we'll do a bit more of an on test with it in a minute, but I don't know, it feels very, very strong. So, right, okay, straight the way through. So the first thing that jumps out to me is it looks very similar to their old ones. You can see the difference in the alloy from the back here. It looks a little bit more shiny, a little bit more details onto this one. It's got Master Tools, which is a bigger logo than I think we've seen on the other ones. So again, the way this works is on the back side here, if I try and catch it in the light, there we go, that's the block side. And then obviously the top one is the blade. So the whole point is what you want to feel is the back and have that as level as possible. You hardly want any difference in height between the two. That means you'll get the perfect cut. On the top here, you've got this guy, which basically it stops it over opening, because then this block here pushes it into it, so it stops it over opening. This little guy down in here is a little hex screw, which then goes through to this little guy under here, which is the normal one, which has like a sharp pin in there, which pushes up to the back. And the only thing I would say is, on the picture, because I noticed it and thought, oh, hopefully it hasn't, it shows it as being flat, which is what I was sort of hoping for. Because the only reason I say that is I know on the other version, which we'll look at the moment, it can cause a little bit of a depression in the metal, and then it means you're over biting these together, because the whole point is that these should literally touch, but there's no pressure. So if you over push this together, it catches it down there, so it stops you cracking the blades. So if you've ever had one of these, and I have, where the blade just flies off one day, it's probably because this is undone. It's allowing you to push it too much, and all that pressure is on the blade, and it ends up snapping your blades. Generally though, the spring feels very strong. You know, that's the point to it. But anyway, it seems to be very, very nice. If we just grab a little bit of sprue, and we can have a cut here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to do the old Spruce Cut Test first. So we've just got a little bit of sprue, and that cuts through very nicely. So what you're looking for is not to have much white on this if you can. So let's do it nicely this time. And we cut through, and you see how the part stays on here and it doesn't ping off. Again, don't take your notes of the hole, that's the actual injection moulding. But that is a very nice clean cut. And as you can see, the part doesn't fly off. If you're using some of the others, it's because it's a single edge, so it literally cuts it. And it is a beautifully, very, very clean cut. That's no problem with that at all. Sometimes you do get a little bit just on the edge, and that's where these blades don't totally touch together, which is a good thing because it stops you over cutting. But again, looks and cuts very nicely indeed. So then let's just try and take off some weapons. So the way I do it is I come in and go right up to the side like this, and we cut together. And then we'll just come from the other side and cut together. So the whole point is, being a better one, you have hardly any sprue tab shown on here. I'll do it down in here. You can see you just got a tiny little bit there, but there's hardly anything. It's not like some of the others. And again, on this side, there's just the tiniest little bit of sprue tab on there, and that's the nice thing to it. So actually, that's pretty good. But this is Flory model, so I'm going to put it on an on-test. So what we got down in here is what I still maintain is the best priced nippers that are out there, which again are Master Tools, which is by Trumpeter. These things are around about 15, 16 quid. They're absolutely fantastic. Really very nice indeed. Do the job very well. The first thing I just noticed is the spring on this one here. The one on the left is the cheap one. The one on the right here is the more expensive one. This spring is a lot stronger. This thing is a perfect spring. It's really nice and supple, and there's no feel to it whatsoever. It just literally, yeah, there's no resistance. It's smooth, if you know what I mean. Between that and then biting together, it's a one smooth movement. This, you can probably hear it. It sounds like it's just not as smooth. I can feel each of those little clinks you can hear, I can feel. Perfect. And also this spring is a lot stronger. Now this spring might give in time, and in full thing, this is a few years old now. Look, it's even getting rusty. But it's a few years old now, so it may be that it's just because this has got a brand new spring and it will wear in. But that's very nice indeed. So we've got that one. Okay, this is the cheapest one you can get. Then I've got a pair of Display, which is also done by Meng now, so it's a Reebok sole. And again, that's totally smooth. There's no spring noise right the way through. They are probably the best mid-range ones you can get. And then full disclosure, I've got a pair of these, which are the God Hands ones, and these are literally the what I think are the best you can get. Again, there's no resistance to that at all. It is perfect and it feels great in every way. So that's why we've got all three of those there up against this one. All right, so in the old chop test we have here, so this is the cheap ones, very nice, straight through, perfect cut. So let's do it against these again so I can remember. Yeah, these cut through a little bit nicer, let's be honest. Obviously it's got a thinner blade, so it's hacking through a little bit more. The other thing I'm noticing as well, if you look at the blade length on the more expensive ones, the ones on the right, is a little bit longer. The blades are bigger. So definitely from that point of view, you can probably see you get a lot more blade length with the more expensive ones than you do the cheaper ones. Right, these are the Meng stroke Display ones, and they cut through really nicely, no problem at all. So yeah, very nice. And then again, you've got your God Hands ones, and these things just literally, yeah, these are, yeah, definitely the best ones you can get, but you are paying a lot of money. So just to put this into perspective, these ones over here, the cheap ones, as we said before, they're £16. These ones down in here, I think around about 50 quid if you get the Meng ones, and then these ones over here around about 70 to 80 pounds in the UK as well. So there's a lot of money. These new ones are 30 quid. So you got something in between here in theory in the great way that they go. So let's have a different play with them. So as we know, this is our standard one to go against. So let's try and snip off a bomb with the cheap ones, which I really do recommend the cheap ones. They're great. So again, can hardly see any tab on there whatsoever, but there is a little bit of a tab, but it's hardly anything. So then comparing that to the newer ones, see, to be honest, I can't really notice that much in the tab. The amount of sprue tab that's left over is around about the same. Then we got the Meng stroke Display ones. And let's have a go with these. Yeah, and again, those have got a really close cut. There's hardly any tab to that whatsoever. All right, so that's the Meng stroke the other ones. And then when you put that against these, yeah, definitely these, there's not a lot in it, to be honest. That one's a little bit better. And then obviously full disclosure, these are the God Hand ones. And again, they just cut through totally effortless. And these one, I don't know if you can see, but you can hardly see any sprue tab on that from any angle. There's a tiny bit on that one. To be honest, I think I'll cut that one a little bit bad anyway. But this one under here, you can see there's hardly, and it doesn't even need any cleanup, you know, it's just nothing there. But again, you are paying a very, very large premium for that one, you know, in full disclosure. So there we go, that's all three of these. The one thing I will say is obviously it depends a lot on what you're cutting as well. So for instance, if you're cutting a very brittle type of plastic, I definitely wouldn't use the God Hand ones, because to be honest, I know loads of people have broken theirs doing that, and even the Display ones don't like cutting, you know, or the Meng ones, very hard plastic. Think clear plastics, things like that. Soft plastics, no problem at all, but clear plastics, especially if it's a bit thicker, very brittle, very hard plastic, you can break them. Definitely don't cut wire with them or anything else, it's purely just for plastic. But I must admit, the cheap ones, these things, I hack for everything with them and don't have a problem with it, so working really well. You do get a little leather pouch. See if it fits. Put it open. Quite stiff, but then it's new. And again, feeling this, yeah, it feels quite hard, but it is protecting the blades from it. The Display one is really soft, very luxurious. You know, it does feel nice, and even just the way the clip is and everything else, it's all branded and whatnot. The God Hand ones, weirdly, are just literally a little cover. So, you know, you don't really see anything in those ones. I don't think you get anything for these. If I remember rightly, they just come as is. Again, it's one of these things, you've got a tool for every occasion now. You've got the cheap one, and these ones here, just go through them again. This is £16. This is the Trumpeter 09990. These are called the high quality single blade nippers. I highly recommend these because of the price. It's 16 quid, they're absolutely perfect. Next one along the line, we've got this one, which is the new one we were just looking at now. So this is the Master Tool 08023 high quality single blade nipper. If you haven't got these, I highly recommend getting these because again, they're very nice and they cut fantastically. Next up, we've got this one, which is the display one, which is exactly the same as the Meng MTS 026, what they call the advanced single side cutters. These things run at around about 50 quid. They are absolutely fantastic. Don't have a price for these up to date because again I brought these in from Japan through a colleague of mine some time ago, so I can't remember exactly what it's, but I know they roughly work out around about 70 to 80 pounds in the UK because you're bound to get clobbered by taxes coming in and stuff like that. So they're, you know, that's the problem with it. But even in these, if you look on the very tip, I've taken a tiny little chunk out of mine. There's a little tiny bit at the end. Yeah. So they are very fragile. They're great for doing small little jobs. The great thing about all of these really is that you've hardly got any sprue cleanup. So when you're cutting parts off of the sprue, you don't have a big tab. So you can literally, a couple of swipes with a medium sanding stick and it's done. You're good for fitting and gluing in and all the rest of it. That goes with all of these. But again, if you want something that you're going to use as your daily runner, I highly recommend the cheapest of this little bunch, which are the normal ones, which are the 09990. They are great. And for £16, everybody should have one. If you haven't never used a single edged nipper before, you've obviously got to have a go. The great thing is you can do this. So you put it down in here, you cut it, and it stays. It doesn't ping off. So your parts don't go flying off into the stratosphere to be eaten by your carpet monster and stuff like that. It's a beautiful, as you can see here, clean cut. You know, there's no white, you know, bits coming off. You see a little bit of white down in there, but again, this is a different one we're using. You cut in, you see how that's just clear? It's a clean shear cut. That's the thing about using a single edge nipper. Then obviously you're into that thing about how close it will go. So obviously having a thinner blade means it's going to have very little on the back of it. So that's the whole point. So if you've got two that are coming together, you're going to get that wedge effect and the part comes plinging off and you're going to end up with a little V shape at the top. Again, these ones, because it's a shear, it comes right the way across. You're always going to be left with a tiny little bit on here, so it's on this far edge because the blades, it's on the downside. You see it looks flat, that's because actually it's got the cut onto it. But what happens is because the blades, they come across and they go like that, they're not quite touching the other side. They're designed not to, so you don't overdo it. And to be honest with you, that's the biggest difference I can see between these two. If you look at the screw system in here, it's quite in, and you can probably see you've got like a flattish, but I reckon I've probably flattened that out over the years. Whereas obviously on here, this has got a bigger, chunkier hex screw at the top. It's got a bigger, chunkier system underneath as well. It's bigger than this one here for setting it. If you look at the God Hands ones, again, it's very simple, but if you look on theirs, it's flat. And that's the nice thing. So when you bring this together, you've got the entire flat surface touches onto here and it just locks it and stops it goes in. My only worry is with these pointy ones, it will make a divot into this soft side of it just down in here, and what's going to happen is over time it's just going to crater it and then you're going to overstress the blades as it goes in there. There is an old thing where you're supposed to take a sheet of paper, and you'll be able to put it in and then you bring it together and it doesn't cut. If you notice this, it doesn't cut the paper. I'm saying that, it cuts, it has, but it should be incredibly close. So you just take a sheet of paper, pop them in, and it doesn't actually cut it. Let's just see how the others are standing up over time. There we go. See how it doesn't totally cut it? It's just a tiny little bit of it. And that's because the blades aren't touching together. This thing, I reckon, will go straight through it. Yeah. So you can probably hear it. It's cutting through, but it's still not going all the way through, which is good. Yeah, it's pretty close. But that's the whole point to these. So obviously when they're in, Yeah, that one's just now going a little bit too far because you can actually hear it cutting right the way through. So that means that actually these need to be reset just a little bit just to stop them over pushing. But again, you're talking about something that's really, really old now. But when you're coming in with these, you can probably hear it click. That's cutting the paper. Whereas obviously on these, perhaps it is. Not every time. There we go. That one hasn't. Only if you really press over too hard. Interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, there you go. So that is those little gems. Again, it is available off the PM store, and we've got pretty much all of them in there as well. So you can take your pick. But from my point of view, just being totally honest, as like I said, if you've got a pair of these, which are the Master Tool ones, and if you've got a pair of the Meng, or you've got a pair of the display versions of these as well, then I wouldn't worry. You don't need them because they're not, it's not anything better. You've got it down there. But if you haven't got a single edge nipper, I would probably say, these are £16, the other ones are 30. It's almost double the price, but they're just a little bit nicer, and you should be good to go with those. And you get the nice little pouch with it as well, which keeps your tools all nice and clean and safe, because you don't want to end up snapping the tips off like I've done with these and all the rest of it. So bargain side of it, easily the cheaper ones, which were the 999s, the 990s, they are fantastic. If you don't have a pair, go and buy those, or if you're on a budget, definitely these are the second ones to go with. And then after that, really the budget is your limit on all of those. Really nice, interesting tools. And I have to say, Master Tool again, it's nice that they're bringing out these things. These ones obviously are like, £20 cheaper than the display ones. There's probably not that much in usage. Overall, it just feels a little bit nicer, perhaps the display ones in the hand, but these are brand new. That spring, it might give over time. It might shut up and be quiet and be smoother. I can't remember that far back of how the others actually were. But just being honest, the cheapest ones at 16 quid, everybody should own those. Anyway, that's it from me. Next week, we've got these up with you. Do you need bending tweezers? These are photo etch bending tweezers. Who knew? So anyway, we'll be doing a little bit of a test on those and a couple of other items as well. Hopefully you're finding these interesting and useful. Don't forget, we're going to be with you tomorrow, me and Matt, with a PM show as well, all about tools and things like that, where we have got a very, well, hopefully, unless everyone's now knows about it, a very special announcement about a very special kit that's coming out in the very near future as well. So we've got a bit of a scoop on that one, but we're going to talk about that one on tomorrow's show. So if you want to find out about that one, please watch the PM show, and you can find out about those ones. And then obviously we'll be back with you on Thursday night. All of this week, I'm going to be running through. I've got kits to do for reviews. We've got that Hawk, we've got that T90 in the Tiger tank, we've got that Panzer One as well, and things like that as well. So I'll get those reviews done for you this week as we make our way through. So that's it from me. Happy modelling. Take care. Catch you all tomorrow.